Hello fifth graders, today we're going to go over place values, how to add decimals, how to divide with remainders, and how to convert fractions. So for the first section, we're going to go over place values, and if you know the place values very well, this section should be very easy. So we're going to go over number 2 together. So number 2, it says 20,000 plus 9,000 plus 500 plus 10 plus 5. So from this, you would know that 20,000 is in the 10,000s place, 9,000 is in the thousands place, 5 is in the hundreds place, 10 is in the tens place, and 5 is in the ones place. And knowing these place values, you should be able to write your answer automatically. So you should get 29,515. So the way I know this is because, as I've said, 5 would be in your ones place, which it is in your final answer. 1 is in our tens place because 10 is our tens place. And 5 is in our hundreds place. 9 is our thousands place. And 20,000 is in our 20,000 place with the 2. So another way you can do this, which is the longer way, is adding these numbers. So you could do 20,000 plus 9,000 plus 500 plus 10 plus 5. Despite doing this, you should still get the same answer as what I have written down there. So this is just the shortcut way of doing this. So you can just look at the place values and just automatically write it if you know your stuff well. If not, you can just add it like this and still get the same answer. Now the second section we're going to go over is how to add decimals, and we're going to be doing number 2 together. So it says 1.00 plus 1.90 equals, and we're finding the sum of those two decimals. So when you're adding decimals, when you're placing them vertically on top of each other, always make sure your decimals are aligned together like this. You cannot add your decimals like this. You cannot do this because the decimals are not aligned together. It always has to be like this. So now you're just going to add 0009, which is 9, and then 1 plus 1, which is 2. So adding decimals is fairly easy, except the first step. If you get this part incorrect, where you align them together, your final answer will be incorrect. Now in your final answer, if you're wondering why I put the decimal between the 2 and 9, it is because that is where the decimal is in your first two numbers. So your final answer and your first two numbers should always be aligned like this. So this is a way to double check if you place your decimals correctly. Now the third section we're going to go over is dividing, and we're going to be doing number 1 and number 3. So 1 is a 67 divided by 7. Now since this is the dividend, I'm going to place this inside the division sign, and 7 is our divisor, so that will be going on the outside. So now from here, all you have to do is just divide them. So you're going to see how many times 7 goes into 67. Well, 7 goes into 67 9 times because 7 times 9 is 63. Now you're going to subtract these and you will end up with 4 as your remainder. And to double check if 4 really is your remainder, always make sure your remainder is less than your divisor. 4 is less than 7, so having a remainder of 4 makes sense. That is one way to check if your remainder is in the right track. Now number 3, we're going to do number 3 together again, 96 divided by 6. 96 is our dividend because it is the number that is being divided by, and 6 is the one that's being divided out of the dividend. So now you're going to see how much 6 goes into 9. Well, 6 goes into 9 one times because 9 minus 6 is 3. Now from here, in the middle of it, you could also check. So I got minus 3. So 3 is less than 6, so I'm on the right track. Now I'm going to bring the 6 down. 6 goes into 36 perfectly by 6 because you will be left with 0 as your remainder. So number 3, your answer is just 16. So some of your answers will end up with a remainder like number 1. Some of your answers will not, depending on if it's divided perfectly or not. Now the last section we're going to go over is converting fractions, and if you can look at the problem, we're going to be converting from mixed fractions into improper fractions. So this is just the diagram that I have laid out over here that would help you guide you through your converting. Now I'll explain them with number 2 and number 4. So number 2, I'm just going to write in this format, 8 and 1/2. So now if you look over here, the first step, if you notice, the first step, which I wrote in 1, is that you're multiplying your denominator by your whole number, which is what we're going to do with 2 and 8. So if you multiply these two numbers, let me just use a red, you will end up with 16, obviously, because 8 times 2 is 16. And then your second step should be to add your product to the numerator. So now we have 16, and we're going to add it to the 1, which is our numerator over here. And you'll end up with 17. And if you notice, over here on the right side, this will be our new numerator, and while we will keep the same denominator. So this will be our new numerator. We will end up with 17 over 2 as our improper fraction. So if you notice, the 17, we got it by multiplying the denominator and the whole number, and then adding it by the numerator, and then we put it over the same denominator. So your denominator is kept the same while your numerator is changed. And this is how you find the numerator, through this diagram. So number 4 over here, I'm going to do the same steps all over again. So we have 7 and 7 12. Now with this, I'm going to go through the steps again. So your first step is to multiply your denominator whole number, which is 12 times 7. Now if you do this step on the right side over here, you will end up with 84 as your final product for 12 times 7. And then I'm going to add it to the 7 plus 7. And if you do your math correctly, you should end up with 91 as your new numerator. 91 as a new numerator, and we're going to keep 12 over here as our new denominator. So your final answer for number 4 should be 91 over 12 as your improper fraction. So that's it for this section. This is how to find your new numerator, and you just keep the same denominator, and that's it.